If the ocean were completely drained, it would certainly help solve some mysteries. From submarines that blew up for unknown causes, to ships revealing secrets from the past. Here are 10 shipwrecks in the Mediterranean. Hey guys, this is your host, American Eye. Now sit back, relax, and enjoy that video. Number 10. The MV Panagiotis. The Navigio Beach, also lovingly known as the Shipwreck Beach, lies in an enchanting pool of Ionian seawater and has been named by some as the most beautiful beach in the world. The wrecked ship that lies famously on its shore was a ship suspected of selling contraband cigarettes. It was trying to get past the Greek Navy when it crashed into a rock during bad weather in 1980. It gives it a touch of character, wouldn't you agree? It looks like sugary sand from above, but the beach is actually covered in pebbles. It's the most famous beach in Greece, and unfortunately, it can only be accessed by boat. Tourists certainly enjoy coming to this one and expect to see some other beachgoers here. If you're looking for alone time, this certainly isn't the beach for you. Number 9. The Antikythera Shipwreck. Off the coast of the Greek island of Antikythera, a massive storm 2,000 years ago caused a large ship to sink. On board were many luxurious items, including fine glassware, massive statues, and the most notable item, a complex geared device many believe to be the world's first computer. This ship and its wreckage were discovered by Greek sponge divers in the year 1900, but they seem to keep on finding new things here. Just recently, in September of 2016, fragments of a human skeleton were found as well. Buried beneath shards of ancient pottery, they came across this piece of jawbone, which included 3 teeth. Also, they found this piece of cranial bone in the Aegean Sea. This is the first time researchers came across bones at the site, and they're hoping with DNA testing, they can learn more about the crew that was on board. Number 8. The Costa Concordia. This luxurious ship had a total of 4 swimming pools and 1,500 cabins. While people were preparing for a beautiful 7-day cruise from Civitavecchia, Rome's closest port, it hit a rock near Isola di Giglio. This massive Italian cruise ship was left with a giant gash. This ship wrecked off the coast of Italy in 2012 and capsized just a few moments later. There was unfortunately no possible way to save the ship from complete doom, and they were forced to abandon the ship. Almost half of this massive vessel was left underwater, and a year and a half later, they finally decided to scrap it for parts. Number 7. The Mediterranean Sky. The original name of this massive vessel was the city of York after it was built in 1952 in Newcastle, England. It was sold in 1971 when it changed names to the Mediterranean Sky since it was turned into a cruise vessel that later sailed the Mediterranean Sea. The new company that bought the ship enjoyed it for many years until they began to go broke in 1996. It was almost too expensive to maintain, and eventually she capsized in 2003 at the Elavisis Bay in Greece. It's believed the owners couldn't find a potential buyer and could have been attempting some kind of insurance scam, but who knows? There isn't a ton of information documented on this abandoned ship, but it's still in clear view on Google Maps. It appears to also be becoming a tourist attraction for those who are able to reach it. But first, we'd like to thank this subscriber for leaving us this comment. Let us know what you think about the video, and maybe we'll feature you. Number 6. The USS Liberty. Also known as the USS Liberty incident, the US received friendly fire from an Israeli Air Force jet fighter aircraft and Israeli Navy motor torpedo boat on June 8, 1967. This was during the 6-day war between Israel and all of their neighbors. The ship was in international waters, just about 29 miles away from the Sinai Peninsula. 171 crew members were injured and 34 lost their lives this day, and it was a pretty costly mistake at the very least. Some theorists and even men on board claim that there was no way that this was a mistake, and maybe Israel thought we were spying on them. The U.S. Secretary Rusk had stated that they were clearly flying a U.S. flag the entire time, and the identification numbers of the ship were also visible. The President Lyndon Johnson accepted the Israeli version of the story at that time, and everything was pretty much dropped. However, on the other hand, Secretary of State Dean Rusk still believes it was a trigger-happy attack by Israel. Number 5. EDRO. This ship, originally from Sierra Leone, was en route to Rhodes from Cyprus with a large cargo containing plasterboard. There isn't a ton of info on how the accident occurred, but the crew of 9 men were stranded there for a long period of time before British authorities came to save them. This massive ship is still stuck, and no one has had the time to salvage the wreck for scrap metal. Going on board is no longer allowed due to safety concerns, but the Cyprus government claims that the ship has been looted of all its cargo. There's also a large amount of oil directly underneath it. Number 4. Empire Windrush. This passenger ship and cruise vessel was built by the Germans in 1930 and was transformed into a troop ship during the conflict. The British took the impressive ship as a spoil of war and operated under their navy for nearly a decade. The reason why the ship caught on fire has still been somewhat of a mystery, but it was likely due to poor maintenance. Some have even theorized that there was corrosion in one of the ship funnels that led to hot soot falling into the engine room. The soldiers were assisted by French rescue workers in Algeria, which isn't too far away from the side of the wreck. Rescue workers were quick to help, which seriously limited the amount of casualties to only 4 fatalities. 224 crew members were safely evacuated, which is great, considering the fact that the ship is now 8,400 feet below the surface of the ocean. We don't think there's any scuba divers that can make it that far down there. Number 3. Eurydice Submarine. A mysterious event took place in March of 1970 off the calm seas of the French Riviera, just 35 miles off the coast of the city of Toulon. A submarine was diving the seas when a geophysical laboratory noticed shock waves from an underwater explosion. Was it possibly one of their submarines? A French and Italian search team went to go investigate what happened, but it was already too late. No live passengers were recovered, and no one had ever determined a reason for the explosion, making it quite strange. Many family members weren't satisfied with the answer, and some might even believe it was either an experiment gone wrong or some type of attack from the Soviets. More mainstream explanations tend to claim it was most likely a faulty design. It should also be noted that a similar submarine known as the Minerve, which was an experimental design, was completely missing in the Mediterranean. Even Jacques Cousteau was sent to search for the vessel, mais pas de chance. Where could this thing possibly be? Number 2. The USS Philadelphia, 1799. Here's another wrecked American ship, and you may be wondering what our Navy is doing over here again. Maybe we should have just learned the first time? The construction of this impressive ship took a little bit of crowdfunding from the people of Philadelphia, and it finally set seas in 1799. Its main job was to catch French pirates impeaching trade routes in the West Indies. However, during the first Barbary campaigns in 1803, on Halloween, the ship set sail to North Africa, and they were confronted by pirates. The captain had tried desperately to keep her afloat, and this meant throwing some of their valuables overboard. The rest of the ship was pillaged, the men were held captive, and then the ship was rebuilt so she could sail again. A brig set sail to Tripoli harbor, where this ship was boarded and set ablaze in the harbor of Tripoli. Could there still be treasure from this ship out there somewhere? Number 1. The MS Zenobia. A large ferry hit the seas in 1979, and on its very first maiden voyage, it capsized completely. It sank less than a year after off the coast of Cyprus. It seemed as though there was a possibility that there was a problem with the steering. $200 million worth of cargo was destroyed, and it's rather an embarrassing disaster for the Swedes. Luckily, however, there were no casualties. Not all is lost for the ship though. It became a massive scuba diving hotspot, rated for being within the top 10 best scuba diving spots. Swimmers only need to make it down about 138 feet or so to witness the wreck underwater. Many scuba divers are given the chance to explore the mysterious wreckage. This photo here shows part of the seaweed-covered propeller, which only got to make one good trip. Here we see some trucks that have fallen all the way to the bottom and will never get the chance to hit the streets again. Some unique challenges are presented to even some of the most experienced scuba divers out there, with little entrances into the ship.